Hello everybody, once again a very warm welcome to Meso study session. So in today's class I will be talking about another process which is a pollination. Now topic is pollination. Till now we have learnt about the formation of the male structure as well as the female structure, that is the formation of androecium and gynoecium respectively. In today's class I will be talking about the process of pollination. So for this, just have a look. Pollination actually is very important phenomena. See, we have two type of gamete. Let's take an example of a male gamete and another we have is a female gamete. Female gamete, a male gamete and female gamete, right? Both of these gametes, they are non-motile. Non-motile, right? Similarly, the female gamete is also non-motile, right? And what we want is the transport of male gamete towards the female gamete. This will ensure the process of fertilization. This will ensure the process of fertilization. So this particular phenomena in which male gamete reaches up to the female gamete, this process is termed as a pollination. Pollination, right? So if I have to define a pollination in your for your CBSE examination, suppose this comes in a 1 mark or the 2 marks question, how will you explain that? You will say the transfer of pollen from anther to stigma of flower. To stigma of flower. This is termed as a pollination process, right? And why this transfer is important? For fertilization. For fertilization. This is important, right? Now the pollination process. Now the pollination, it requires certain medium. So pollinators are vectors which help in pollination, which help in pollination mechanism. Now these vectors I have named it as a pollinator. Now these pollinator, they can be biotic as well as abiotic. So pollinators can be biotic. Biotic, that means I am talking about living organism, such as bees are there, such as wasps are there, even these arboreal organisms, they act as a pollinator. Similarly, the second we have is abiotic pollinator. So abiotic, that means I am talking about a non-living pollinator. So in this case, water is there, in this case the wind is there. So because of the current of this water current or a wind current, the pollinator are transported from the anther to the stigma of the flower for the process of fertilization, right? Now I have to discuss regarding the types of pollinator, but before that I would like to make you understand the different type of pollination. Types of pollination. Types of pollination. Now there are 3 types of pollination. Let's have a look. First is termed as the very first. It is termed as a autogamy. Autogamy. Second you have is geitonogamy. Geitonogamy. The third you have is xenogamy. These are the different type of pollination. Now, what actually this autogamy is, what do you mean by this geitonogamy, what do you mean by this xenogamy, this we will understand today. Now, the autogamy, that means I am talking about the self-pollination. So, this is a mechanism of self-pollination. Right? Whereas this geitonogamy, this also means a self-pollination, but in this case the flowers are different. Though these flowers, they belong to a same plant, but the flowers are different. So, one plant, it has having two flowers, and from one of the flower, these anthers, they are being transported to the stigma. So, xenogamy, that means I have two different plants which belong to the same species, and the transfer occur between these two plants. So, I will be discussing about all of these. Right. So, let us understand the very first thing, which is autogamy. So, what is autogamy? I will be discussing this first, later on I will be talking about the geitonogamy, then xenogamy. So, what is autogamy? That means transfer of pollen from anther to stigma of same flower on a plant, right. So, I have one flower, right, and in this flower I have both the type, because this particular flower is not unisexual, they are bisexual. They are containing both the type of this androecium as well as gynoecium. So, transport will occur within the flower, right. So, such type of pollination is termed as a autogamy, and this the name it in a simpler word we can call it as a self-pollination. Now, this self-pollination or the process of autogamy, they require certain conditions. Let us talk about it. Conditions for this autogamy. There are different conditions for the autogamy. The first basic condition is that we should have a bisexual flowers. Bisexual flowers, right. So, what do you mean by bisexual flowers? It means androecium and gynoecium and present on same flower. So, that means a female reproductive structure and the male reproductive structure, they are present on a similar flower or a single flower. Now, or you can, or in a more simpler way, can I say that both the essential whorls, they are present on similar or a simple or same flower. Both essential whorl. Essential whorl. Now, you will say what is essential whorl? Essential whorls, they are androecium and gynoecium. Non-essential whorl, they are not, they are petals, they are stamens. So, now both essential whorl are present on one flower. So, this is the first condition, that our flower should be bisexual. Right? We are going very slow so that I can make you understand this whole topic very clearly. Bisexual flower. Now, the bisexual flower, this is a one flower. Let us talk about the second condition for it. Hope you know the word of homogamy. Homogamy. This is another condition. Now, what is a homogamy? Homogamy, it means both androecium and gynoecium should mature at same time. At same time. Right? So this is another thing. Suppose this female part is maturing at another time and the male part is maturing at another time. So it will not be available for the process of fertilization. In that case, there will not be autogamy. So homogamy should be there. That means both the androecium and gynoecium should mature at the same time. There should be a particular period at which both these parts they should mature. So this is a second thing. And the third thing in this case, the third is, hope you know about the word which is cleistogamy. Cleistogamy. Cleistogamous flowers are those flowers which are not open. So this is termed as a unopen flowers. Unopen flowers. That means flowers are not open. So if you look at the structure of a flower, you will see that all these petals, they are very beautifully arranged, and in between we have these structures like androecium and gynoecium is present, right? So this is how this beautiful creature look like. But in certain cases, the petal itself cover the whole androecium and gynoecium, and it doesn't allow, or you can say this type of pollination is occurring in a closed flower. So cleistogamous means transfer of pollens from anther to stigma of flower of same unopened flower. Now listen to this very carefully. When a flower is not opened, so chances of self-fertilization or chances of self-pollination, it becomes maximum. So this is a cleistogamous, right? For this we have n number of examples, like you can take an example of viola, you can take an example of oxalis, etc. Cleistogamous. Now these kind of flowers, either we talk about a viola or oxalis, they are not only, they do not show only an unopened flower. In fact, they have both open and unopened flower. Right? Now, these flowers, which we term it as open flowers, this is also termed as a chasmogamous flowers. So these are the chasmogamous flower, right? Whereas the unopened flower, this particular name, that means I am talking about cleistogamous flower. Right? Now for the cleistogamy, for the process of cleistogamy, like this is favored, like we can say that. In case of autogamy, this particular process is favored. For that there are so many reasons. So in this case I am talking about importance of cleistogamy. Importance of cleistogamy. Right? So because the flower is in closed position and androecium and gynoecium are there, so this ensure the fertilization, ensure pollination, right, or self-pollination. And second point in this case, because you can say that particular flower is a closed flower, and because it is a closed flower, so we do not require much of the pollens. So they produce a very less amount of the pollen, and even in this case, such as the formation of a colored petals, such as a production of a good smell, which is for the attraction of biotic this pollinators, which is not required. So it actually conserves some of the energy. So no requirement for colorful petals, and nectar, right. So this basically saves this much amount of energy. So is it clear to you? So along with the importance, there are certain disadvantages also. Let's talk about it. Disadvantages. Right. So disadvantages, in this case the genetic variability is not seen, because continuously generation after generation there is a self pollination. So that increases the chance of homosexuality, that increases the chance of the homogamy condition, in which a similar type of genetic like constitution will be seen. So it reduces genetic variability. Right. So this is a disadvantage. So advantage as well as disadvantage, both we have studied. Now I know that you might be confused regarding this cleistogamous. So something might be there in your mind that, ma'am, yes, you are talking about an unopened flower, that means you are talking about a bud. No, I am not talking about bud right now. I am talking about a flower, a complete flower which has all these structure present, but that is not open. So the next type of the autogamy we have is a bud pollination. We have is bud pollination. Right. Now this bud pollination, it means pollination in bud form. In bud form. Right. So this is the first one, which is a autogamy condition. Let's talk about the second. As you can see, that is a geitonogamy. Let's talk about the second procedure or second method. Geitonogamy. So what do you mean by this geitonogamy? That means fusion, or you can say the transfer. Let's understand the transfer of pollen from anther of one flower to stigma of another flower present on same plant. So this phenomena is termed as a geitonogamy. So in this case, because the flowers, they are present on the same plant, yes, they do require pollinator for the cross pollination. Yes, they do require pollinator, but when you look at the genetic variability, in this case also the genetic variability is reduced. So you can say that this is a indirect autogamy. Right. And what is the disadvantage? Disadvantage is same, it reduces variability. It reduces the chance of variability, because the fertilization is happening between the two part which is present on the, basically the genetic constitution of both the androecium and the gynoecium is actually same. So it reduces the variability. Let's talk about the third, which is a xenogamy. Xenogamy. So what is a xenogamy? Xenogamy means transfer of, this is a third one, the last one, of pollen from anther of one flower to stigma of another flower present on different plant. So once they are present on a different plant, in this case when the transfer occurs, so such type of pollination is termed as a xenogamy. So xenogamy is occurring, and basically these two plants belongs to same species. This, just do a star mark and you can write two plants belong to same species. Yes, they do have a common species. Only then this pollination is possible, right? So we have discussed regarding the three type of pollination: the autogamy, the second the geitonogamy, and the third one, which is this, the xenogamy. Let's talk about the pollinators. So pollinators, these are the vectors which are required for the process of pollination. Either we talk about the geitonogamy or the xenogamy, in both the cases we require pollinators. For the autogamy condition we don't require, or the cleistogamous condition we don't require any kind of pollinators. So pollinator itself is of two type. On two category we divide it. The first one is termed as a abiotic pollinators, right? Second is a biotic pollinator. Abiotic, and second we have is biotic pollinator. So abiotic pollinator, that means these are the pollinators which are non-living. In this case you can take one example like anemophily. Second is hydrophily. Let's take an example of a wheat. So in the wheat, these pollens, they are transferred with the help of air. They are small, and each of these embryo sac, they contain, each of these ovary, it contain a single ovules in that, and second with the help of water. For example, in case of the water hyacinth, for example, in case of certain other plants like Melisneria, the transport occur with the help of water. So water, with the help of water current, they are being transported, right? So for the biotic pollutants, we have second type of pollination which actually require the bees, the wasp, the butterfly, the monkey, these arboreal animals, right? So these are the two type of pollutant. So we will be discussing about the two type of pollinators in depth, like what do you mean by the anemophily, what are the conditions for the pollens to undergo the process of anemophily, and what are the conditions for the hydrophily, what are the different type of pollens in them, so etc. and etc. We will be discussing that, but first of all note down this, I will be back. So students, hope you have noted down this. Now let's talk about the very first, which is abiotic pollinators. So in abiotic pollinator, first of all, I am dealing with the anemophily. Right? In this case, the pollen are being transported via air current. So listen to this. Anemophily, in this case, actually the air current, it carries all these pollens from one place to another. Now, in this case, certain conditions are there for the anemophily. So these are the conditions for the pollen also, and these are the conditions for the stigma also. So in this case, those plants who undergo the process of anemophily, in this case the pollen are light and non-sticky, right? The flower has compact inflorescence, right? In this case, whatever the stigmas are there, they are well exposed. So that they can easily catch these pollens, right? So these are the certain condition, and also in this case each ovary has a single ovule. Single ovule. Right? So this is anemophily. In this case, you can take an example of wheat, maize, etc. One more thing you need to understand when we talk about a pollinator or abiotic pollinator especially, the flowers, they are non-colored and they do not produce nectars. So nectarless flower. Because they are not attracting any insects, so what's the need of having these nectar? Let's talk about the second, which is a hydrophily. So hydrophily, name itself indicate that means it require water. So there are certain examples for it. For example, you can take an example of a Vallisneria, right? So Vallisneria, they has surface flowers. Surface flowers, right? In this case, the pollens, they are non-wetted. They have a mucilage covering around them, which doesn't cause a wetting of these pollens. So Vallisneria, they have a surface flowers present, and also you can take another example of a Zostera, which is an example of submerged plant. So they actually require water current, right? In this case, both of these cases, the pollens are small and covered with mucilage, right? So that they should not get wet, and this with the help of water current, in fact with the help of a passive water current, they are being transported. Right? So this is hydrophily. Like this, we have certain biotic factors, like sometimes the bats are required depending upon the different species, and sometimes the birds, they also act as a pollinator. So we have certain examples for that all we will be discussing in the next session. So till then, revise this topic, pollination, very carefully. We will be meeting in the next one. Take care. Thank you so much, students, for watching this.